Very warm greetings to you as you join us on yet another episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuloko, and on today's episode of the program, we have two eminent gentlemen as our guests. Mr. Innocent Ohagwa is the Director, Large Tax Department, Non-Oil at the Federal Inland Revenue Service headquarters in Abuja, while his colleague is Mr. Moses Okpanike, the Regional Coordinator, Western Region of the FIRS. There are 8 regions into which the operations of the FIRS is divided, and the Western region is one of the prominent regions. Today, these gentlemen are going to be talking about capital gains tax. Yes, that is another tax. You may know about personal income tax, about companies income tax, petroleum profit tax, but this is largely uncharted part, and these two gentlemen will be breaking it down for us. I have warned them not to go too technical. Mr. Ohagwa, welcome to Tax Matters. Mr. Okpanike, welcome to Tax Matters.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let's ask you, what is capital gains tax? When was it introduced into Nigeria? And is it peculiar to Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Capital gains tax is a tax that is paid when you dispose a chargeable asset. It is called chargeable asset because not all assets possibly will fall into that tax. So when a gain is made on that tax, you pay tax on it. However, I need to express that very fundamentally, who is disposing this asset? The asset must be disposed by the person, by the organization that do not have that items as is stock in trade. Well, if I should give you an example, stock in trade. If Peugeot Automobile manufactures Peugeot, if he disposes it, he cannot pay capital gains tax because that is also stock in trade. But when any other organization that does not manufacture and sell that product, then capital gains tax is payable. So in a simple definition, capital gains tax is a tax paid on disposal of chargeable assets by an organization or individual who ordinarily do not deal in that item. And the rate is 10% currently.
Okay. Mr. Okpanike, is it something manufactured in Nigeria? I mean, capital gains tax, is it peculiar to Nigeria?
Capital gains tax is not peculiar only to Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria took over from British. You know, Britain is our colonial masters. It was introduced to the Nigeria system, tax system in 1967, April 1st, 1967, through the Capital Gains Tax Act. And all other tax jurisdictions all over the world, like US, France, Ireland, majority of them, they have it in their tax system.
Now, if it was introduced in 1967, that would be more than 4 decades ago, almost 50 years. Why is it now not popular in Nigeria?
Well, capital gains tax is not so that popular in Nigeria because, like my colleague said, it's not a general on the general asset, and it's limited to a particular asset. We call it chargeable asset. And for so many years, Federal Inland Revenue, all the tax authorities, they have played down too much on it. We have played too much emphasis on companies' income tax, value-added tax, education tax, and all other taxes. But capital gains tax, because it's limited to particular asset, we call it chargeable asset. Even the taxpayer too may not even be aware. The level of education, the awareness, and the way we apply it to is very limited. So that's why many people may not be aware of it.
Mr. Ohagwa, give us a few examples from everyday living of items that can be chargeable to tax under the capital gains tax.
Okay. We have what we call options, debts, incorporate property. Incorporate property is something like goodwill, patent, trademarks. All assets that are qualifying capital expenditure for personal income tax, petroleum profit tax, company income tax like plant and machinery, motor vehicles, tractors, all those items are chargeable assets. Then the disposal of currencies, foreign currencies, except if it's Nigerian currency, is also liable to capital gains tax. These are all chargeable assets.
And it is charged on the gain.
Yes.
The profit.
Yes. On the gain made. We don't use the language profit, because profit, you'll be associating it with the normal income and expenses. The expenses that are allowed under the capital gains tax are identified. The cost of the assets, all attributable costs of enhancing that item. That you want to sell a building, you want to repair it, put it in sellable conditions. We also have incidental expenses like surveyors, lawyers, accountants, auctioneer fees. These are incidental costs that are allowed before arriving at the capital gains. Yes, from the cost. From the process of sale. Yes, process of sale less all these costs. The cost of the asset, the refurbishment, and lawyers' fees, conveyance, transfer fees, stamp duties paid on all these things are allowed. Yes, but if you make loss, it's not allowed. Insurance is not allowed. So all the traditional expenses under the Profit and Loss, under the CITA, that is Company Income Tax Act or Personal Income Tax Act, are not allowed for the sake of it. But all these expenses are identified. Cost of the asset, cost of enhancing the value, cost of advertising it, fees you pay to agents, accountants, and valuers.
Mr. Gwaneke, is it a federal tax? Capital gains tax, is it a federal tax, or do the states also collect capital gains?
Capital gains tax is not peculiar to federal alone. The states government have authority to administer capital gains tax, especially for individual and enterprises. The one that's federal capital also is for the companies, limited liability companies. However, if there is transaction between individual and limited liability company, so that one will be, it all depends that who is selling. So that matters. Who is disposing the asset? It all depends. That's where we determine which authority is going to collect capital gains tax.
Do you take into consideration the rate of inflation or the impact of inflation on what eventually becomes the saleable price of a product? If I buy a car when the exchange rate is so, and it changes in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I sell the car on paper at a higher price, how do you treat me? How do you treat my company?
Well, as far as when we are talking of taxation, you should know that we are dealing with taxation. When you are talking of accounting, it's different. What you are now going into inflation accounting, which is not peculiar, it's not well known in Nigeria. So we don't deal with inflation. Like my colleague rightly said, what you need to bear in mind is the cost of the assets, then the disposal value as at when you are disposing the chargeable asset, then all the attributable expenses are liable expenses. Those are the ones that you need to take into cognizance before you arrive at a gain, not profit, but at a gain. If there is a gain, then capital gains tax at 10% will be applicable. But we don't deal in inflation accounting until when that is introduced. Maybe that can come up. But for now, there's nothing like inflation.
Let's go a bit practical for the benefit of our viewers.
Okay.
Because the way I look at it is going to be very difficult to be able to charge the capital gains tax on, like cars, for example, even the machinery that you talked about. Because, permit me to delve into your area, you talked about accounting and taxation. You said they are different. Okay. But we know for a fact that in the books of a company, the value of an asset depreciates. So, can you tell us 2 or 3 instances where you have collected capital gains tax for the benefit of our viewers? Is it land? Is it house? Is it equipment? 2 or 3 examples, Mr. Agba.
It's very, very common.
Yeah.
Even in oil industry, when you dispose an oil block,
that one goes up now. Oil block that's more than 200 million. And
so interest in it. Then you find out that when companies file returns, in their even when they didn't disclose, if you check in their fixed asset schedule, if you check in their capital allowances computation, you will see evidence of disposal. Because when that assets were acquired, they are booked at cost.
Yes.
When it is disposed, the accumulated depreciation, if it's in accounting, will be taken away to get net book value. If it's in tax, the accumulated capital allowances, will be taken away to get what we call tax written down value. But for capital gains purpose, what we check is this: what is the original cost of the asset? What is the proceeds from sale? If the proceeds of sale is greater than the cost, we now find the cost expenses that relating to, like a building. We said a building that is dilapidated, nobody will price it. Even the pricing will also be very small. But if you have to change the roof, paint it, and change the doors that were broken down, you are enhancing the value of sale. So when the price now is put at 10 million, and the original cost was perhaps 2 million, painting and other things came to 1 million, advertising and lawyers fee, everything come to 2.5. When you total it, perhaps it comes to 7.5. Less it from 10, you have 2.5 to which you will apply, the rate. The challenge is that if it is not disclosed, if it is not reported, perhaps except if the tax officer has an intelligence information or a third-party information, you may not know that disposal had taken place. But however, through review of the financial statement, you could decipher that disposal through the reporting in the asset schedule, in the capital allowances schedule, that disposal have occurred, and you do your computations and bring them to tax. This is era of self-assessment, whereby the company is expected to disclose honestly the transactions that are taking place. When you do not disclose, then you are committing a crime.
And the question still remains. Can you tell us 2 or 3 instances where the FRS has been able to collect capital gains tax?
I gave you an example of oil blocks that have been changing hands.
Good.
Also, the issue of selling off vehicles and tractors by many of these construction companies. They have a list of a whole assets. Again, too, we have what we call qualifying capital expenditures, motor vehicle, plant and machinery, building, or it's a daily affair in Abuja. A company that is perhaps based in Abuja will buy these things and sell. So it's a daily occurrence. Only issue challenge disclosure.
Okay, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at some of the terms that we came across in researching for this interview. Don't go away.
How long it go take for you to clear my container?
I dey do am, oga. Then say we go bring our team.
Our team? Which team?
Custom don change, oga. I never say we.
I want to concern FRS with my business. I will talk to Gaba myself. You are fired. Oga Gaba, which one be this our team again?
The taxpayer identification number na the only way where you fit take do business with Nigerian Customs Service now. You fit process your own free tin sharp for any FRS office.
Soji,
You just sack me, no.
get our team now.
This message now from Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigeria Customs Service.
Welcome back. The program is State Tax Matters, and we're discussing capital gains tax. And with us to shed light on what that tax means are Mr. Innocent Ohagwa and Mr. Moses Okpanike, both of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Before we went on break, we were told that capital gains tax was introduced into Nigeria on April 1st, 1967. That's more than 45 years ago. Yet that tax is not that popular, and that is one of the things we are trying to unravel. We did promise that we're going to take a look at some of the terms that came up in the course of our research. But before then, Mr. Okpanike, you were itching to say something in addition to what we heard from Mr. Ohagwa.
Oh, yes. You asked whether Federal Land Revenue Service will be collecting capital gains tax. I said yes. Further to what you said, we have been collecting capital gains tax, especially from these big multinationals. A big manufacturing company that moved from Apapa some time ago came to Oregon here. They abandoned the old, yes, in Lagos here. They abandoned the old factory, and when they dispose it off, they pay a lot of money on capital gains tax as a result of that. And not only that, anytime maybe Federal Land Revenue Service or these are buying property, like buildings or land or anywhere to develop, even from company, so they are made to pay capital gains tax before you can even do the stamp duty and transfer of that particular asset. So these are the issues whereby we get a lot of money from capital gains tax.
Transfer cannot be perfected until we pay capital gains.
No way. Even both the state at the state level and federal level, we can't perfect the transaction, the transfer of assets, disposable assets, until stamp duties on it and capital gains tax are paid. It's a condition.
Oh. Yeah. What is the year of assessment for capital gains tax?
Capital gains tax is preceding year basis. However, you are supposed to pay that tax, especially when you are disposing the assets immediately. However, when you are making your returns for the subsequent assessment year, then you file it because we are now in self-assessment filing era. So you file the assessment along with your company income tax and education tax when you are paying. It's basically on preceding year basis, like the normal accounting.
Documentation, the transfer cannot be perfected until capital gains is paid, which means it's my interest to pay immediately instead of waiting for when I submit my annual returns.
Exactly. It's even better for you because when you dispose that asset, you don't have the money immediately to pay rather than waiting till when you are filing, like you are filing your return next year. If you say dispose an asset now, we are now in October, and your accounting year end is December. So you are supposed to file your return on or before June next year. However, as at the time you are paying, you are disposing the asset now, you can easily pay that money. You still have that money to pay the tax rather than waiting till next year in June or May next year, where you must have spent all the money. These are the issues we are telling the people. It's even better to pay that tax as and when you collect the money because the burden will be relieved.
Mr. Oga, what are you doing to popularize this tax?
Occasionally the management holds a sensitization workshop, like recently, we moved from region to region. We did the one for Lagos last year. But however, you cannot compare its popularity with company income tax or VAT or personal income tax. But however, as what we are doing now is also a way of ensuring that the public and taxpayers know much about this tax. But
okay, what we are doing now, so I will send my bill to you. Let's look at some terms that came up when we were researching for this. You say artificial or fictitious transactions. What does that mean?
That is a provision of the CGT law. Mm-hmm. Capital gains tax law in this section 20 said, if in the opinion of the board, transactions between connected persons, we'll be coming to explain what is connected persons, are carried out, or any disposition which does not reflect an arm's length relationship, that such transactions will be regarded as artificial or fictitious. Let me come again. If transactions, disposal of chargeable assets occurs between related connected persons, I will explain the concept of connected person, then it will be clearer. If in the opinion of the board, either at the state or federal, such dispositions were not carried out at an arm's length or at a market value relationship, then the board has the power to set aside such artificial relationship such fictitious transaction and then treat it as if it has occurred at arm's length in market value.
I know about a company, we're not permitted to mention names, a paints manufacturing company that sold a property of that company to a retiring MD on Adeyi Jones in Ikeja, Lagos. So, if they want to, quote and unquote, help the man and sell it at a reasonable price, are you saying that you will be, sniffing for, like sniffer dogs?
What the law says is that that is artificial, that is fictitious, unless it
the
is
man is MD, is going there.
yes, unless it is carried out as arm's length. What is arm's length? Assuming that building, the market value is 50 million, and it is sold to him at 15 million. The board will set aside that arrangement and then use the market value, for that. Because as an MD, or for a retiring MD, is a connected person. A partner is a connected person to the partnership. The wife, the children of a partner is connected, to that. So anybody who is dealing in that partnership or a company that is in group, an associate is connected to the group, a subsidiary is connected to the group, so shareholders, are also connected. So any transaction that does not reflect a market, an arm's length.
You will look at the papers carefully.
Definitely.
You will look at the cost.
Yes.
You will do all kinds of things to make sure that the taxpayers, that tax is paid. Due tax is paid.
Yes.
Let us clarify here that when Mr. Agua mentioned board, is referring to the board of the Federal Inland Revenue Service or the State Board of Internal Revenue, not the board of the company. We also note that in answering our question on artificial or fictitious transactions, you have already talked about connected persons. Okay, so we want to move to another one. Maybe we ask Mr. Okpanike, valuation market value. What's that?
What that means is that if the board, either board of Federal Revenue,
board of the tax authority.
Yeah, board of the tax authority. No, if they discover that the transaction between connected persons, they are not done at arm's length principle. Now the board will now decide to look at what is the market value, at what price can we get this asset at the price, or third person, anybody that is not connected to the transaction at all.
How much will they sell this to?
So exactly, how much are they going to sell this property to a person outside?
How much is a house in GRA Port Harcourt?
Exactly. So they will now look. They will now put a value to it. What is the market value? If I want to go to the market, how much can I buy? How much can I sell it? So they will now use that market valuation to determine the price of that particular asset.
You know that the two of you are beginning to remind us about your colleagues that came into the studio to talk about transfer pricing. They spoke about connected persons, about arm's length, and all that. Is there a relationship between transfer pricing principles and capital gains tax?
The link is between who are the people connected with the transaction. Like in transfer pricing, what we are saying is that if a multinational having subsidiaries in another country and they want to buy raw materials, capital assets from that place, from the overseas and the subsidiaries, so the multinational can say, okay, I'm giving you this price, I'm selling it to you at a price, so that they are transferring maybe the profit from one tax jurisdiction to another. It's the same principle that if I want to sell this property, if I'm selling it to my wife or to any of my children, I can determine the price. So that's the kind of link that instead of paying appropriate tax on the asset disposed of, maybe because you have reduced the disposal value, so I will not be able to get appropriate tax.
Do you have anything to add to that?
The only addition is this. If the disposal for capital gains purpose is done at arm's length, the issue of transfer pricing doesn't come in because it's at open market. But it is only when it is artificial or fictitious that is when it's taking the shape of transfer pricing, because the objective of an author said transfer pricing is not the price to sell or the price to buy, but it's at that price where the goal congruence of the parties will be maximized.
Viewers, we've been discussing capital gains tax. Yes, capital gains tax. And these two gentlemen have been of very great help in helping us to navigate the field. On your behalf, we want to thank Mr. Innocent Ohagwa and Mr. Moses Okpanike. Mr. Ohagwa, thank you for coming into the studio. Mr. Okpanike, thank you for coming to the studio.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.